Rap can be a dangerous game. Violence is a common subject in hip-hop, and plenty of artists in the genre rap about shootouts and gunfights. Some are just trying to make themselves more marketable, while others have actually lived the life they describe. Here are a few legendary rappers who got caught lacking and lived to tell the tale. Tupac. Tupac Amaru Shakur is a hip-hop legend born in Manhattan, but later relocated to the San Francisco Bay Area. Tupac was one of the central figures of the West Coast hip-hop scene of the 90s and is one of the best-selling artists of all time. Everyone knows that Tupac was tragically gunned down outside a Mike Tyson fight in Las Vegas in 1996. However, some may be surprised to know that Tupac was shot before being killed and survived, in an incident that sparked his beef with another 90s legend, Biggie Smalls. Tupac was born in East Harlem on June 16, 1971. He was named after a Peruvian revolutionary named Tupac Amaru, who led a revolt against Spanish rulers in the 1780s. Tupac's mother, Afeni Shakur, was very politically active and was a member of the Black Panthers. The family moved to Baltimore when Tupac was 10, and he attended the Baltimore School of the Arts, where he studied acting, poetry, jazz, and ballet. The family moved again when the artist was 17, this time to Marin City, California, where he continued to pursue a career in entertainment. He released his first single, Same Song, in 1991, and followed up with his first solo album, Tupacalypse Now, later that year. Despite his passion for the arts, Tupac was also notorious for the violence that plagued his career. In 1993, he was arrested for shooting 2 off-duty police officers. However, the charges were later dropped after it was revealed that the cops were drunk and had instigated an altercation with the party that Pac was with. Later that year, Tupac was arrested twice for assault. Then, in 1994, was shot at Quad Studios in Times Square, New York City. At the time, Tupac was in New York City filming a movie called Above the Rim and recording guest verses for other artists. On November 30th, he got a page from a music manager named James Jimmy Henchman Roseman, who offered him $7,000 to stop by Quad Studios and record a verse for his client, Little Sean. Henchman was a notorious figure in New York at that time. He managed artists like The Game and Gucci Mane and allegedly ran a bi-coastal drug trafficking ring. He's currently serving life in prison for the killing of G-Unit affiliate Lodi Mack in 2012. Tupac agreed to record the verse and went to the studio later that night, but when he showed up, 3 men attempted to rob him at gunpoint in the lobby. Tupac resisted and ended up getting shot 5 times. He was taken to Bellevue Hospital where he underwent surgery. He left the hospital only 3 hours after surgery against the doctor's orders and appeared in court the next day for an alleged sexual assault that occurred the previous year. Tupac blamed Diddy, Biggie, and Henchman for the shooting. Pac had previously been friends with Diddy and Big, but he was convinced that they had something to do with the shooting because Jimmy Henchman was also close to the Bad Boy crew at the time. Many fans and hip-hop historians consider this to be the moment that the Biggie-Tupac beef officially began. In 2008, a former associate of Henchman's named Dexter Isaac claimed that he was one of the robbers who was hired by Henchman to rob Tupac. Henchman has denied this accusation, and there are no other sources to corroborate the story. But since he was the one who asked Tupac to come to the studio, it makes sense that he would be the prime suspect. Isaac is currently serving a 40-year prison sentence for murder and robbery, among other charges, and Jimmy Henchman is currently serving a double life sentence for the Lodi Mack homicide. So if either is truly responsible, they didn't exactly get away with it. But Tupac isn't the only rapper who was shot in New York City. You'll never guess who else got caught lacking in the Big Apple. Fabolous. John David Jackson, better known as Fabolous, is a rapper from Brooklyn, New York. He was born in the Brevoort houses in the Bedford-Stuyvesant neighborhood of Brooklyn to Dominican and African-American parents. He began rapping in his senior year of high school and later claimed in an interview that he was motivated by the desire to make money and never saw himself as a rapper growing up. He released his debut studio album, Ghetto Fabulous, on September 11, 2001, which debuted at number 4 in the Billboard Hot 100. On October 17, 2006, Fabolous was shot in the leg outside of Justin's, a restaurant owned by Diddy. Fab and his crew were attending an NFL players event at the restaurant, and the shooter ambushed them while they were getting in the car. Fab was shot twice in the thigh, and the other 3 men he was with got him into the car and sped away from the scene. As they drove off, they caught the attention of police who had been called after someone reported gunfire. When the cops pulled them over, they found 2 unlicensed handguns in the car, a 9mm and a .40 caliber pistol. All 4 men were arrested and Fab was taken to the hospital. Fab has stayed pretty quiet about the shooting and claims he isn't sure who did it. However, many have speculated that Boston Celtics player Sebastian Telfair may have been involved. Telfair was in attendance at the same event on the day Fab was shot. According to witnesses, he left the party to get his car from the same parking garage where Fab was assaulted. He returned to the event and complaining that he was robbed of a chain worth $50,000. Restaurant security asked him if he wanted to report it to the police. Telfair said he didn't want to report it, but a witness claims he spoke to someone on the phone and told him to get over here and take care of it. Police questioned Telfair, but no charges were brought against him. Fab refused to cooperate with the police when he was brought to the hospital, so there's little other evidence to support any other theories. Telfair has denied any involvement in the shooting, and his lawyer has told media that he's been cooperative with the police. Fab's brother, Paul Kane, was shot 2 months prior, and the police claimed that they were looking into those incidents as being connected. But no arrests were ever made, and to this day, the identity of the man who caught Fab lacking remains a mystery. But Fab isn't the only rapper who has been shot in the Big Apple. The next rapper also got caught lacking in the mean streets of NYC. Old Dirty Bastard. Russell Jones, also known as Old Dirty Bastard, or ODB for short, was a rapper from Brooklyn, New York, and one of the founding members of the Wu-Tang Clan. He was one of the most unique and iconic rappers of the 90s. However, his career was held back by his struggles with addiction, legal battles, and mental health problems. ODB tragically passed away from an accidental drug overdose in 2004. Before that, he had a life and career full of highs and lows, including being shot twice in '94 and again in '98. ODB was born in the Fort Greene section of Brooklyn. The area that he grew up in was hit hard by the crack epidemic of the 80s and 90s, and ODB was exposed to a lot growing up. However, he was raised in a relatively stable 2-parent household, and his relatives remember him as a born entertainer who always knew how to make people laugh. He and his cousins, Robert Diggs and Gary Grice, who would later be known as RZA and GZA, formed a rap group called Force of the Imperial Master. They later recruited 6 more members and rebranded as the Wu-Tang Clan. They released their first studio album, Enter the Wu-Tang, in 1993, which was a critical and commercial success. The following year, ODB was shot in the stomach by another rapper over an argument about music in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, an area that was quite dangerous at the time. He made a full recovery, but was shot again in 1998 after a robbery gone wrong. ODB was at his girlfriend's home at the time in the Brownsville neighborhood of Brooklyn. 2 men entered the apartment around 5:30 p.m. on June 30th and attempted to rob the rapper of his jewelry and anything else in the apartment. ODB resisted, and one of the robbers shot him once. The bullet entered his back and hit his arm on the way out. ODB was taken to the hospital later that evening and received treatment for his injuries. Luckily, the bullet hadn't pierced any major organs and the wounds were only superficial. He left the hospital less than 9 hours after being attacked. Only a few days later, ODB was arrested for shoplifting a pair of $50 sneakers, even though he had almost $500 in cash in his pocket at the time. So getting shot didn't slow him down all that much. After the shooting, he went on to face a variety of legal problems and was arrested and charged with numerous offenses, including driving without a license, owning body armor as a convicted felon, possession of crack cocaine, and possession of marijuana. He was sentenced to a court-mandated rehab program in 2000, but escaped a month after entering treatment. During that time, he met up with RZA and even appeared on stage for the release party of Wu-Tang's 3rd album, The W, at Hammerstein Ballroom in Manhattan. At the time, he was considered a fugitive and was eventually brought into custody after drawing the crowd at a McDonald's in South Philly by signing autographs for fans. He was extradited to Manhattan and sentenced to 2 to 4 years in prison. He was released May 1st, 2003. ODB continued to use drugs after being released from prison and tragically overdosed on November 13, 2004. The coroner claims that he consumed a lethal mixture of cocaine and the opioid tramadol, which caused his death. ODB's unique personality and unorthodox rapping style cemented him as a hip-hop icon, and his presence in the game is sorely missed.